Some of the rainiest weeks since the gold rush didn't end California's drought. I'm Jonathan Bloom, and here's what to know about how the state decides what's a drought and what's not. Now, we've been living through droughts for most of the last decade here in California. They can mean big wildfires, bad growing conditions for farmers, and water restrictions. Turns out droughts can be measured in a lot of different ways, but there are three basic kinds of droughts that scientists look at. A meteorological drought means a lack of rainfall, and in this case, those big storms left California doing just fine in that department. An agricultural drought generally means there's not enough moisture in the soil, and that makes it hard for plants to grow. And a hydrologic drought means that rivers and streams and groundwater are lower than normal. Now, all three of those factors go into something called the U.S. Drought Monitor. It's a map that comes out every week on Thursdays, and you might have seen it in our weather forecasts here at NBC Bay Area. It breaks up the country into these color-coded areas, from yellow, which is just abnormally dry, all the way to that deep red color, which is an exceptional drought, the kind where entire crops die off and wells run dry. Well, right after those heavy rains, the map showed most of California in a moderate drought and left a few places in a severe drought, the kind where fire danger is high and fire season lasts longer. The rains did manage to eliminate the areas of extreme drought, which is when fire season can last year-round. Now, the U.S. Drought Monitor is a national index, but here in California, there are other things state regulators look at. First of all, there are reservoirs, including the big ones that are part of the state water project. Even the biggest rainstorm is not enough to dig them out of a multi-year drought, but that incredibly wet January got close and brought them to 96% of their historical average. Then there's the Sierra snowpack, which actually makes up 30% of the state's water storage. A month of storms at the start of 2023 put that above its historical average at 138% by February. But the more important snowpack measurement happens in April, at the end of snow season, because that snow can start to melt during a warm winter. Water managers want it to pile up and stay frozen so it can melt in the summer and run off into creeks and streams that feed the state's water system. Now, in just the last decade, the state started tracking something else: problems with wells in areas that use a lot of groundwater, like the Central Valley. We're talking about huge underground lakes that homes and farms rely on, and they can take a lot longer to fill back up than lakes on the surface. In the summer of 2022, there were more household wells that literally ran out of water than any other quarter since they started keeping track. And even after those big storms a few months later, almost 2/3 of the wells the state uses to monitor groundwater were below their normal level. It all means weeks of intense rain got California closer to being out of a drought. But droughts are stubborn, and even those storms left the state needing more rain and more cool temperatures to get there.